probably the next step is having the right kind of tools and equipment to use to plant this box. This looks kind of excessive, but it's really not. Each thing has a very specific need. Let me just go through them for you real quickly. It's pretty obvious what they are, but let me explain their uses. First of all, just a really heavy-duty bucket to carry this gravel in, and it works best if you've got small holes in the bottom, because this is wet gravel and you don't want to be carrying around a lot of water with it, so that'll drain right out. Another tool that I find really indispensable whenever I'm picking sites and digging holes is just a staff to wade along with, and it also has a measuring device on it, so I can measure the depth of the hole or the depth of the water and record that without any problem. Then on the other end, there's just a hook. In case I drop something in the water, I can pick it up, or I can pull the Vibert box out of the water with a line. So it's a really handy tool. Another one that I find really useful if we're using a manual placement of the Vibert box, it's just simple tool here to grasp things and just hold the box down in the water. Then for digging gravel out of the side or the bottom of the stream, you need a basic shovel with a good point on it. And then for scooping that gravel up and conveying it onto the sifter, you need a square bottom shovel like that to do that with. Then when we actually dig the hole, I found the best thing to dig it with in this current out here is a simple garden hoe. And so the garden hoe is almost indispensable in raking and digging that gravel aside. Once the box has been planted and covered up with this gravel, you need to restore the bottom of the stream. And so just a good old garden rake like that's just perfect for that. Some other things that seem pretty small, but they're really important. One is having just a net like this in case the box should get away. You can dip it up or you drop something, pick it up. A cushion like this, because sometimes you just have to kneel down on this gravel, and it makes it so much easier on your waders and your knees to do that. And then something to scoop water up with, to pour over the eggs or to rinse with water with. So, and all this is just a gallon bucket that's been cut out to make a scoop out of. Then, once you begin to want to observe the plant site, whether make sure that the box has been installed properly, or whether you're trying to recover it, a glass bottom bucket like this is just an indispensable for looking down in it to the water. You get a perfectly clear view below the water of what's there. So you need the glass bottom buckets for that. And of course, this is that heavy duty gravel bucket I mentioned there, and see the holes in the bottom of it, and that'll just drain that excess water out, so you don't have any excess weight you're carrying around, because the gravel is heavy enough as it is, but a gallon or two of water in there makes it tougher on your back. You can see how I'm dressed today, dressed as warm as possible. Normally, trout eggs become available from fall spawners in the early winter, and it's always cold and bleak like this. Usually the air is right around freezing temperature, particularly the further north you go. So you need to dress good with waders and what have you on. But a necessary thing is you cannot keep your hands dry in this operation. You're going to get wet and cold, so a good pair of long neoprene gloves like this will just allow you to be on the stream a lot longer, and function a lot better. So you got to wear these when you're on it. And here's some other types of long gloves too you can use when you're starting to gravel. And then the last thing is that you need to size the gravel. You don't want little bitty stuff or very big stuff. I'll show you in a moment. And so a good gravel sifter like this is really invaluable for the team to work with. Anyway, those are the tools and accessories that make this job efficient and easy to do. So one of the first things that you need to do, kind of like here in the early in the morning, when you first get here, is to adjust these eggs temperature to the water temperature. And they're usually somewhat colder because of the ice dripping over them. So what we need to do is to take the temperature of the water here and take the temperature here and begin to add this water into the ice box in order to gradually change that temperature so that the eggs won't be shocked. So you guys want to proceed on that? There's a tray of ice, remember, over the eggs that drifts down and keeps the eggs wet and cold and aerated. If that's taken off, the next thing is that, got it? We're going to open the bottom of the ice box so the water, the stream water can flow into the bottom, and that'll start tempering the eggs to the right temperature. The next thing is that I'm going to take the temperature of these eggs that are wet here with an infrared thermometer, and they're 39 degrees. I'm going to take the temperature now of the water until it's 45. So so just begin to put a little bit of water in. And usually you want to get the eggs to approximately 3 to 5 degrees of range of the water itself. It's pretty close enough. And that usually takes a few minutes depending on how much diversity, but add a little bit of water and then add a little bit more water. But this is an important part because you want those eggs to be the right temperature so the stream won't shock them and they'll incubate properly. You want to give it another little try here?
Yep, you get a good reading there.
Okay. Okay, 44. We're getting pretty close, isn't it? Seems like a long time to wait, but patience pays off with this stuff, I'll tell you, boy. Just thinking a few weeks we'll have a little trout in this stream, and usually in a few months, a pretty good sized little fish, and then in a year or two they'll be fishable. So we're really looking forward to whenever you start planting these eggs in the stream like this. It's a constantly exciting and rewarding Now, what we've accomplished here is bringing these eggs up to the temperature of the water so that now when we get ready to plant them, we can just take out of the ice box and put them in the stream without worrying about the eggs being shocked or any damage at all. So that's a job done, and that'll pretty much be okay for the rest of the day while we plant, but we do periodically check just to make sure. But if this water's running in under the bottom here, that stream is pretty well going to keep them the same temperature all day long. One of the most important parts of the success of planting a Whitlock-Vibert box in a stream like this is the condition of the gravel and how you lay it in around the box, because that creates the environment for the fry as the eggs hatch and as they come out of the gravel. So sizing gravel, buying gravel that's already sized, is really an important component almost as the box. One thing is there are several different types of sifters that you might have option. We're going to be using this sifter to demonstrate some of the gravel cleaning, but there's also something a little simpler than this. Just a piece of hardware cloth like that with two handles on it, and let's give a little demonstration on how that's used. Kent's going to put some gravel on there, and I'm standing in the water, and I just take and clean that dirt out of that gravel, and all the small stuff, all the sand and silt and little gravel has washed out. Now I've got a perfect group of nice clean sized gravel, and I just roll it in there like that. And do it one more time, that was kind of fun. One more. So you can convert even kind of dirty gravel that's not necessarily all exactly the right size into very usable gravel real quick. And you notice all the silt and mud that washed out of it. And that's what a trout does in the stream when it digs its nest, is it cleans the gravel. So there we go. So just a simple hardware cloth like that with a couple handles on it will work nice as well as this. Okay. And anything you see about that that size there, just pick it out if you can.
That look plain to you?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that'll work. This irregular sized gravel just opens up hundreds of little channels for water to flow through, but also the little fish, once they come out of the box, to move up through the stream bed. But see, that's just ideal size. There's all kinds of crevices in it that those fish can swim through and the water can circulate through. Good job, guys. And then what we usually do is just pile it up, a couple, 3 of these buckets up right where the box is going to be planted, so you can transport it right out once the hole's been dug, the box has been put in, and then you want to fill it in with this gravel. Let me get these glasses off. I want to kind of get up close and personal. This is probably one of the most critical parts in planting the box, and that is putting it in a cradle. It almost 100% assures that the box is going to function properly in the stream. So, Emily, you want to access the eggs and TL, go ahead and load it. And then, of course, the ice box is full of charged Vibert boxes with some gauze over them and cold water drip on. Of course, there's the eggs and the little gravel below. He's setting that on the bottom of the cradle. Next, he's taking some of the sized gravel, and he's going to put it on all 4 sides and the top. So the box will be perfectly positioned with gravel around it that can't be disturbed, it can't be washed away. That sets up the perfect environment for the incubation of the eggs, but also for the escape of the fry. And that rock makes the box heavy enough that it won't wash out. So it's a win-win situation.
That looked good to you.
Yeah, that looks great. The next thing he's going to do is going to seal the box up so that gravel can't get out, nor can varmints get inside of it. So it's actually providing a really great natural protective habitat for the box fish and the eggs as they incubate. So, and what they're doing is they're using just little ties to fasten that lid and then clipping off the excess eggs on it. And those really work good, don't they, on it?
Pretty slick, easy
Yeah.
to get done.
Once it's all sealed up, now you need to get them in the water as quick as possible. All we have to do is set them in the water, and then as soon as the hole site is ready, we'll put that cradle in the water, in the hole site. Good, all right. And it's secure there until we're ready to use it. And then the next step would be actually preparing the hole and putting it in the hole and covering it up. That's what we'll do next. Thanks, guys, good job.
Sure.
Okay, what I would like to start with before we actually plant the eggs in the stream is a little demonstration I have found really, really valuable. I wish that we'd been able to do this a long time ago, because I think it would really help people who are trying to learn how to plant a box to see it a little bit more graphically than if we were showing it actually in the water. And that is to do basically the same planting technique, except on dry land where you can watch it a little bit better. So I picked a site here that's similar to maybe the stream bed right out here, and the water would be flowing by here. And what we're going to do is excavate this area here the same way we would excavate an area in the water and plant the boxes and cover it up with gravel. So the first thing I need to do is to have something that I can measure the depth of the hole we dig, because the cradle that I have here has to fit in the gravel, under the gravel, to where I can put about 5 or 6 inches of gravel over the top of it, and it'd be even with the stream bottom. And the regular bare box needs a similar hole. So the first thing I would do is come in and just take and measure, and we'll say quite often the water might be this deep over it. So we'll say the water's 9 inches deep here, and I need to dig a hole that's 6 inches deep for the box, as well as another 4 or 5 inches deep for gravel over. So that's going to cover up, around 18 to 20 inches of hole that we need. First thing is that Kent, you want to come over and help me for just a minute here? We're going to take and keep in mind now that the current's flowing this way, so Kent, pull the gravel this way and this way. And so we're just going to start. Now, one of the things I want to show you real quick, like if you'll notice here, that this gravel is really clean on the top, as it is in the stream bed, but there's always a lot of silt and sand and mud in that gravel that you dig up, because it's sitting underneath. And so a trout naturally digs a hole and cleans that out, and that's what we'd be doing. So if water was flowing by here, you'd see a lot of mud washing out on it. But I just want to point that out to you, that that's why it looks dirty that way, because it is dirty. So let's just pull it to the side, and can you pull it more that way? A little more that way. Yeah. One of the things in digging this is it always also seems to be that you got a lot deeper hole than you have. That's looking pretty close, so let me make a measurement of it. And it's looking like we've got about 7 inches, so we need about 3 more inches, 2 to 3 more inches deeper, Kent. Okay, that ought to pretty well do it. Now that's looking pretty close to the right depth. Let me get you down here where I can kind of work on it a little bit closer. So I think we've got the hole dug about the right depth, but sometimes because of the way we've dug it with these coarse holes and the coarse gravel, the bottom can be very irregular. So we just come in and sort of hand flatten it a little bit. Just make sure that there's not a bunch of lumps, because we want the boxes to sit really nice and flat in there like that. Now the next thing is to plant the boxes in it. And the first one I'm going to do is the box without the cradle. And I've got a box here already prepared in the ice box. And if you remember from our discussions at the laboratory there, that I have a box with an anchor on it and then a locator anchor here. And this needs to be placed in the center of the hole, crosswise to the current, and as flat as you can place it, like that. And then the anchor rope or locator anchor extended back downstream that way. Next, we'll have to take and pour good sized gravel that we've cleaned and prepared here at the stream around the box. And so, Kent, if you'll bring the gravel in, I'll hold this in place. And he's pouring it in from the upstream side so the gravel won't wash away. And then I'm just going to gradually mound it around the box. And lock the box into place. Now hold it just for a second. Now you see how it's set in there, and I've packed it in nice and firm and straight and level. It's really important to have it level. If it's not, it won't function quite as well. Now go ahead and put some gravel right over the top of it, Kent. Now we've covered the box up. Now one of the things, I'm not sure if we've mentioned it before, but if the box is exposed to sunlight, ultraviolet radiation will damage the eggs. And so we need to have at least a couple, 3 inches of gravel over this during the incubation period. The other reason is to keep predators from getting in, getting to the box. And so the gravel over the box is really important. Now, so I've got it set in there now. We've got a perfect gravel nest around the box. The next thing we need to do is to bring the gravel that we pull from the sides back over to replace it, keeping in mind that the current, as it washed by, would have cleaned this gravel out. So let's just push it back in here, Kent. You can use the hoe if you want, the rake. Just restore this area. Like that. The anchor line's back here. Like that. Now, we've got the gravel now pretty much leveled off. I'm not real happy with it just yet, but keep in mind that the current's going to kind of help you level it off and move the gravel around. But I'm just going to, you know, sort of just hand pack it down. Now, can't come here for just a second and just kind of stamp that down with your feet there. Just stamp on, just pack that down. Of course, you'd be doing this in waders, but by pushing that gravel down like that, it makes it where it's not so loose and it won't wash away, because you're trying to restore the consistency or the toughness of the bottom. And so by packing that gravel in there like that, it'll hold a lot better than if you just dumped it in there and walked off and left it, because a few hours later you may come back and you actually have a hole. And what you don't want is, you don't want a hole, nor do you want a mound. You want the gravel just exactly the same height here as it is here and here, because as the water flows over it, it won't create any type of a digging action or any type of eroding action if it's all smooth. And the next thing I want to do is to go through a hypothetical box recovery. Usually we have 3 stones marking the area, and we want to be able to triangulate that area through. And so what I do is, when I come into this triangle area here of 3 stones, I take something like a probe like this, and I probe through the gravel and pick up the line. Once I get that like that, then I'll pull the line up to the area where the box is, and then begin to excavate the box out. And here's the box. And kind of do that carefully. And this is where the glass bottom bucket really is nice, because you can take the glass bottom bucket and be watching to see if there's fry around the boxes, if the boxes have hatched all the eggs and what have you. And if the eggs aren't hatched yet, or the fry aren't out, you just carefully cover it back up and wait another week or 2. But so I'll uncover this like this and carefully pull the box out, look into it to see what kind of a hatch I've gotten and what condition it's in. It's important to notice if the box is full of silt or dead eggs or dead fish, or if it's clean. That will tell you how efficiently the box is, if it was planted properly in a good area. So that's good, important data, whether it's totally successful or the box didn't function quite as well. But you need to make those records and those observations for the next year's planting process. Now, one other thing, I'll set this aside just for a second here. If we had this hole dug and we were going to plant cradles, all we do would just take, instead of taking the box and holding it down, all we do is just simply take the cradle and set it in the hole and cover it up like we did the Whitlock-Vibert box. Then that cradle later is retrieved by the use of a metal detector rather than a locator line. But anyway, that's the demonstration that I wanted to do for you. And now what we're going to do is go through this same demonstration of how to plant the Whitlock-Vibert box in the stream. I think that this will give you a much clearer view of what was actually done under the water. We're going to have good underwater photography, but nevertheless, I think that this demonstration will give you an extra dimension of understanding of what's going on under the water. So we'll start off here with, first of all, from what I said, reading this stream and determining what area would be best to plant the box. I've located myself already in a pretty prime area. The riffle's up there, this is the pool, and this is the tail of the pool here. And I'm looking for an area where the gravel will start to come up a little bit, but still be stable before it goes over into the riffle. And this looks like, you notice here, it's about knee deep here, but just up here, just a little ways up, it starts to hump up. And that hump there is the best place to plant the eggs for a couple reasons. That's where the trout would choose. And the reason for it is a real stable part of the end of the pool. It's smooth, not rough water like down there. And this water from the pool is forcing itself through that gravel. So you get really good water circulation down several feet below the gravel. And that's what's required to get good incubation of the eggs that are in the gravel, because if the water doesn't flow by them, they won't get enough oxygen and they won't develop properly. So I just kind of check a spot out here, check my depth to make sure it's about right, because I want about 5 to 8 inches of water over the box. Another critical part of it here is to pick a spot like this where the water is basically a normal level. Now, if this was flooding and it was here, it may be dry in a few days, but the stream pretty much is running normal level now. So I'm relatively sure when I put a box here that no matter what happens in the next month or so, there's going to be a good flow of water over it. This looks like an ideal spot here. Plenty of gravel, good flow, the right depth, the right position in the pool. So this might be an ideal spot right here. And then we also, because it is so ideal, we may actually be able to plant more than one box here. Usually an area this big, from here over to there, might be able to actually put 3 or 4 boxes in, separating them out. So let's get the equipment started and get on the way with it. Okay, guys, we're actually ready now to plant the box in the stream. The first thing we have to do, though, is to dig a hole deep enough to put the box in, and that requires a little bit of calculation. I've picked this side here, and with this pole that's marked, I checked the depth of the water, and it's run about 10 inches. The thickness of that little cradle is 6 inches, and so I need to dig a 6-inch hole for that to fit in, but also I need about 4 or 5 inches of gravel over it. So we need to dig about a 20-inch deep hole from the top of this thing here, from the top of the water down. So guys, if you'll move in here and just pull the gravel this way and that way, and they're using hose to do this with. And if you'll notice, as they're doing it, there's a lot of mud and silt coming out. They're cleaning all that crud out of the gravel, and that's what a trout does with their tail when they dig a hole like this. So they clean all that silty area out, sand and muck and silt. So that's an important part of cleaning the gravel as well as digging the hole. Okay, now let me just give a quick check here and see where we are. Okay, we're at 15 inches, and we were at about 9 or 10. Yeah, so go a little harder there. Yeah, just keep digging. Right in here. Yeah. Sometimes it seems like it takes a long time to dig a little hole in the gravel, but you got some gravel washing in, and you know the hole is not 100% efficient, but it works better than anything else we've tried to use. Now let me check it now again. Making progress. We're up to 18 inches, so two and a half more inches, guys. Doing good. Work a little bit more down in there. Yeah. All right. Now let me check it and see. Man, we're almost on it. We'd like maybe go about another half inch, just clean out some of that loose gravel in there. Very good. Okay. Now, TL, you can put that hole down, and the cradle is right behind you. If you'll hold this, I'll get down here. Attaboy. You got to do all the labor, and I get to do all the cool stuff here. And I'm going to let it, with the box widthwise, get down into the hole and make sure. Now there's nice and level and kind of snug it in like that. Now go ahead and start with your size gravel and filling around it. We've got a pile of gravel on the stream over here. Remember that we filled it out. We want that size gravel to put in around that. Then we'll take the gravel that they dug out and level the stream up with it. Only about 30% of what you actually dig up seems to be available when you get ready to dig it in. Yeah, start at the front and work down. Yeah, go ahead. Good, good. All right. Now it looks like we need about 1 or 2 more loads like that. Now that's looking great. Okay, now we'll tell. See, there's a little bit of pressure there, and the biggest one's right there. So a little bit right here, and there. And it's a good idea to hold that gravel under the water, that way it pours a lot. Yeah, the rest there right in there. Beautiful. Now, let's get the hose and kind of move that gravel that's on the sides back into the remainder of the hole. There's a little pile of it here and a pile of it there. Yep, get out of the way here. Well, that looks good, guys. I'll tell you, that's wonderful. Man, I see those trout smiling already. Now, see what you guys have created here is a perfect bedding area for those eggs to incubate and water flowing through them. I'm going to just check the depth here and see. Now, see, we're right on the 10-inch mark. So let's take now, once we got that, just take a rake now and smooth that out. This is where that yard rake comes in handy. It's just kind of try to make it just as smooth on the bottom as you can, you know, like we found it. That's looking great, man. All right, now let me have that glass bottom bucket. I'm just going to have a look at it just to see. With this glass bottom bucket, I can look at the bottom and just see it in case the box happened to get jostled sideways or what have you, but I don't see any problem at all. It's absolutely a good looking plant. Thanks, Teal. Now, the next thing is that with this planted like this, that if you're using a metal detector, you don't need to put the 3 rocks on all 3 sides. But if you're not using a metal detector, you need to put 3 locator rocks. And so while we are here, why don't we just go ahead and put those rocks in and show. So get me.
One right there big enough that you got right there in front?
No, it needs to be a little bigger than that. That'll wash away. Okay, got some rocks.
Point to where you want it.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put a rock about 3 feet on this side and 3 feet on this side of it. Just go ahead and put one right in there, right about there, yeah. And and then one right here. And just set it where it'll seem like it'll hold best, it's most streamlined. And then one right back here. Right about there, Kent. Yeah, that's a good idea. Now, kind of stand on them a little bit to kind of push them down in the gravel. You know, just kind of worry them down in there a little bit. Good. Yay! That ought to do it, guys. So essentially now we've got, you know, the box well situated within the cradle under the gravel at the right depth and a really good water flow over it. So that the only thing now we need to do, other than make the recordings of where the box is, etc., is to wait a week or 2 or 3 and begin to inspect these sites for incubation success, and the time is ready to take the box out. Okay, you know, this is just an absolutely perfect place to plant Whitlock-Vibert boxes. It's a long, gentle pool, lipping off into a nice tail, and the gravel across here is smooth and evenly depth and a good flow. And so you could actually plant 3 or 4 or 5 boxes in this area very easily. You don't always have to plant just one box per area. You can kind of put different ones, and so this is a perfect place. And also I want to call your attention to another thing, is that this pile of gravel here, this is gravel company washed river gravel, and it's already been cleaned out of all the silt and mud and sand and what have you, and it's just been delivered here by a truck and put here. So when we start digging holes here, we've already got all of our gravel size. But you can put this in several different areas that you're planning on, and it just saves you a ton of work, and it assures you got really good gravel, because a lot of times streams, even though they appear to have a fair amount of gravel, don't have very much. And so if you have plenty of gravel handy, even if you run a little short when you dig it up, you don't have to worry about it. It solves a lot of problems. And so it just makes the job better and more efficient. The Whitlock-Vibert box can be used in a variety of waters. I think probably the most popular place to use it, you know, is a nice flowing stream. Streams vary a great deal in size, and probably this nice little spring creek that I'm in is a perfect small stream environment as far as the size, the quality of the water, and the flow that's in it now. So this would be about the minimal size that you'd want to plant a box in. And then as the streams get larger, you can put more boxes in, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is that when trout and salmon actually have a choice of where they spawn, they will go up small tributaries and spawn rather than spawning in the main river channel, because of the ease of spawning, and also the survival of fry is going to be much greater in a small stream like this than it is a river laden with adult fish and all kinds of predators and flooding problems. And so this is just a perfect little stream here. You could actually take and put 2 or 3 boxes right in this nice little flow right here. You notice there's plenty of gravel, the nice smooth flow, and it just makes boxing plantation ideal. Another neat, interesting thing is that if you plant a Whitlock-Vibert box here with, say, brown trout eggs in it, that in 3 years from now there'll be a pair or 2 or 3 of brown trout spawning right here. They'll come right back to the spot where you put the boxes, and so we've seen that time and time again. In fact, it's really an emotional thing, you know, to put those boxes in the gravel, and then several years later there's a beautiful pair of trout spawning there. I mean, what could possibly be better than that? But anyway, so these little streams like this have a good use as far as using the Whitlock-Vibert box for. So one of the final chapters of this DVD WVB episode is actually recovering the boxes that we planted earlier. Normally about 2 to 3 weeks later, as much, or a month later, depending on how warm the water's been, et cetera, the boxes are ready to be brought back out of the gravel. And it's important you get them out pretty quick, like, for 2 reasons. One, they'll tell you a story. They'll tell you whether the eggs have hatched and the fry are out, or whether they have not been successful. One of the best ways to locate them, especially if you've used that metal cradle, is with a metal detector like this. This has been Teal's idea, and it just works like a charm. You just can't miss the box. And so, Teal, we planted that box in this area here. Why don't you give it a try, and we'll just walk along here. And are you listening for a beeper or what?
Beep, 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 beep.
Okay. You ever find any good money and stuff like that too?
Not yet. No hidden treasure.
Or a trout with a great big fly in his mouth and it buzzes. It looks like about the area we planted them in.
There we go.
Wow, man, it really does.
There it is.
You get a lot up. Can you hear that? Yeah.
Should be right there underneath.
Right there. Okay, then let's get our recovery team in here right quick, like, and we'll just see. All right, Kent, Emily, do you see where he's got that right there? Just start pulling gravel gingerly out right there. Wow, that's cool. And we're kind of watching to see if it's there. There we go, right there. All right, she's got it now. Hang on to this, and I'll just lift it out. Yay, success! It's a good idea too to take the glass bottom bucket and just look in this gravel around here, because a lot of times you'll actually see the little fry darting in and out between the rocks that haven't gone into the stream yet. And that's a real turn on, I'll tell you, when you see those little fry down like that, because they'll live in this gravel for sometimes a couple of 3 weeks after they leave the box area, and they're gradually maturing. Another thing I'll say now, and I've said before, is that when this water is relatively shallow, the fry have a good opportunity to come from the bottom up to the top and fill their air sac. If the water's too deep, they can't do that, and it's a real important part of their survival, is that after they leave the gravel, they must swim to the surface to get air in order to fill their bladder. And if the water's too deep, that's too precarious a trip for them. Too many predators and stuff. It's been about almost a month today since we actually did the live egg planting in our stream here in Oklahoma, and I've got a couple of boxes that I just planted at the same time in the little spring creek right at the house here. And what I want to do is, I'm reasonably for sure that the boxes have hatched, and I want to try to recover a box, and we'll see if we can see some either sac fry or some swim up fry. I have a feeling there's going to be quite a number of them here. So if you just kind of watch closely, I'll show you the general recovery. I've got the box site marked here. Next thing I want to do is that I've got my stream side equipment here, a glass bottom bucket, a little net, and a pan, and something to cut the wire on the box so I can get in it. Then I'm going to put a couple of waterproof gloves on, keep my hands a little drier, because man, this is cold today. That ought to help. Next I'll get my bucket. Now just get into place. It's a good idea to stay downstream from them rather than upstream, so all the silt and the mud that you might turn up wading doesn't wash into the site area. I just kind of get out on my knees here now. And first of all, I'm just going to kind of look around in the gravel to see if I can see a little fry. I'm not surprised that there's not some right on the top, because they swim away as soon as they come up. But I'm just going to start very carefully uncovering this with my glove and watching as I do it to see if there's any fry in the gravel. There was something moved in. Okay. This is so much fun. It's so cool watching for these little guys. There's the cradle. It's sitting perfect, just like it's supposed to be here. Look for a second. Okay. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is just lift the box out, lift the cradle up, and take it over and put it in this little white pan. So if there are fry in the cradle, we'll be able to see them. So I'll just take these little Boy, that's a nice clean plant. There's no silt or anything in there. Really looks good. Lift it out. Bring it over here and set it down. You can see there's some little scuds swimming around here. This little spring creek's full of crud, and oh look, wow, there's a baby. See him? He just popped out of the box. Look at that. It's a little swim up fry. Wow, yay! Good deal. Let me cut this off. Man, I'm just as nervous as I can be. I never ever lose my enthusiasm for seeing a newborn trout out of one of these systems. Oh, there's another one. There's two of them. There's one there and there. See that? Look at them. Aren't they cute? They got orange fins and little dark eyes, and they're hiding back under that gravel box. They're already starting to act like wild fish rather than tame fish. And you can see here now the box is held perfectly. There's no silt in it. It's just a really good plant. And I'm just going to set my pliers over there now, and I'm just going to carefully move this out. The most obvious thing is I see no unhatched eggs. All the eggs are gone out of the top of the box. They've all hatched. And there was approximately 300 eggs in that top of that box when I planted them in here. I'm just going to flip this off now. Pull this out. And let's just put some water in there and see what we got. That whole bottom is full of swim up fry. The whole single bottom. Can you see it? There must be 50 or 60 in there. I'm going to open it up into the pan here now. God, look at them, Emily. Look at them. Wow. Shrimp and baby trout. Isn't that neat? Okay, I'm going to open this box up now and get the fry out. Now see, there's where the eggs were. See, they're all gone. So there's no eggs in there, which means we had a great hatch. And few or any of them died. Now I'm going to open this up and pour this fry out in here. And that may be shocking, but there they are. Now they're going to be getting out of this box, probably they're already starting out, but in the next, probably in the next 3 days to a week, most of these guys will be like that. They'll be up in the surface and swimming, but look at that. Every one of them practically is alive. So, and that's the way the system works. From trout eggs to the Whitlock-Vibert box, plant the seeds in the right spot, and this is what you get. These little fry like this. Now they got a long way to go, but what the box has done is this. It's hatched the eggs properly without anything being able to eat them. It's held the fry without anything being able to eat them until they matured, and now they're escaping the box, and the box's job is done. And from that point on, these fish have to make it on their own. But you can see how many of these, practically every egg that was in this box turned into a fry.
I hope this information that we've shared with you has been really helpful. Best of luck out on the stream.